In January 1933, Adolf Hitler becomes Chancellor of Germany. It's a shock to many in the Reichstag, but for Hitler's close supporters in the Nazi Party, it's the beginning of a secret race behind the scenes. A race which determines who will be the most powerful member of Hitler's inner circle and the Nazi Party itself. In these early days of the Nazi state, a select group of figures were key to Nazi leadership. The first among these was Rudolf Hess, Hitler's deputy, and a fanatically loyal member of the party. Next was Hermann Göring, whose charm and opportunism rewarded him with a slew of important ceremonial and practical positions. Alongside Göring stood Joseph Goebbels as Reichsminister of Public Enlightenment and Propaganda, who ensured that his loyalty to the party translated into influence over the German people. Beneath these was Heinrich Himmler, the soft-spoken but calculating head of the SS. Finally, there was Ernst Röhm as head of the SA, a fanatic paramilitary organization staffed by violent enforcers known as the Brown Shirts. Röhm's loyalty to Hitler was unquestionable, but his ambitions clashed with the future vision of the Nazi state. His push to turn the SA into a revolutionary army of millions alienated both the military elite and members of Hitler's inner circle. By June 1934, Hitler faced a growing crisis within his regime. The SA had swelled to a force of over 4 million men, threatening both the German military and Hitler's vision for the Nazi Party. Röhm's ambitions made him a liability. From June 30th to July 2nd, Hitler ordered a purge of the SA that was undertaken by their former subordinates in the SS. Since its founding, Göring had transferred control of the Gestapo to Himmler, who in turn appointed a trusted SS officer by the name of Reinhard Heydrich as its head. Under Göring's oversight and Himmler's purview, Röhm and dozens of others were executed in a single night, with many targets, including Hitler's political opponents and old allies suspected of disloyalty. The terror and bloodshed that enveloped Germany would come to be remembered as the Night of Long Knives. In today's interconnected world, it's more important than ever to safeguard yourself from online threats. That's where NordVPN, the world's leading cybersecurity platform and sponsor of today's video, comes in. Visit nordvpn.com/historyvpn to explore how NordVPN's Threat Protection Pro offers comprehensive defenses against online dangers. From scanning downloads for malware to blocking fraudulent websites used in phishing, scams, and fraud, NordVPN helps protect you from a range of cyber threats. It also enhances your online experience by blocking pop-up ads and stopping intrusive web trackers. For me and my team, NordVPN's threat protection is an indispensable safeguard, ensuring that our activities remain secure. Additionally, NordVPN allows us to access content that might be region blocked, no matter where we are, even while traveling. It's also one of the fastest VPNs available, offering exceptional speeds, unlimited bandwidth, seamless browsing, streaming, and gaming, and thousands of servers to meet every online need. Try NordVPN risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee and receive 4 extra months free with a 2-year plan. Simply sign up through our link in the description below or visit nordvpn.com/historyvpn to start protecting yourself today. By August 2nd, Hitler had removed all obstacles to power, becoming Führer of Germany. For the inner circle, the purge was also transformative. By the mid-1930s, Heinrich Himmler had grown the SS from a small protection force into one of the most powerful institutions in Nazi Germany. Their role in the Night of the Long Knives was rewarded with independence and expanded authority. By the eve of war, SS responsibilities ranged from party security, general policing, enforcing racial laws, and running concentration camps. While Himmler built his empire within the SS, Hermann Göring was busy making new friends through patronage. Along with his existing positions, Göring was appointed plenipotentiary for the 4-year plan. This authority over German economic and industrial policies gave him leverage, which he enjoyed to its fullest extent, enriching himself and his allies. His gregarious activities cemented power over the wider Nazi party, but also created resentment among other party members who viewed this extravagance and opportunism with disdain. While others squabbled for Hitler's favor, another player remained in the background, Martin Bormann, who was an indispensable aide of the Führer. His unassuming demeanor masked a calculating mind, and he used his proximity to Hitler to marginalize rivals and expand his reach. Rivalry and competition in the party leadership was rife, but rarely led to direct confrontation. Instead, there were subtle contests of manipulation and positioning, with each player attempting to prove their worth to the Führer. Hitler was aware of the scheming and aimed to keep his inner circle divided, ensuring their dependence on him while maintaining his ultimate authority over the Nazi leadership. Or at least he thought so. In May of 1941, Rudolf Hess made a shocking and unauthorized flight to Britain. After many years of being sidelined in the Nazi hierarchy, he aimed to prove his worth to Germany. Believing he could broker a peace deal with the British to end the war in the West, Hess flew a Messerschmitt Bf 110 to Scotland, where he parachuted into captivity. Upon hearing what Hess had done, Hitler was furious. He saw it as a personal and political humiliation. The Führer publicly denounced Hess as mentally unstable, stripping him of his titles and removing any mention of him from party propaganda. In his place, Martin Bormann was promoted to Hess's former position, becoming head of the Führer's party chancellery. Meanwhile, Reinhard Heydrich was cementing his position as one of the most ruthless and cunning figures in the Nazi regime. As head of the Reich Main Security Office, Heinrich oversaw the Gestapo, the Intelligence Service, and the International Criminal Police Commission, giving him unparalleled power over Nazi security operations. His intellect and organizational skills made him a trusted executor of Hitler's most brutal policies, including the planning of the final solution. Heydrich was also adept at consolidating his own power. He frequently undermined rivals by collecting incriminating evidence through the extensive intelligence networks under his control. His political cunning ensured that his loyalty to Hitler was beyond question, even as he subtly maneuvered against potential threats within the inner circle. By 1941, Heydrich's combination of loyalty, competence, and ruthlessness had bumped him a few rungs up the ladder of the Nazi hierarchy. Heydrich's rising influence was also catching the attention and suspicions of Göring and Himmler. Despite their own differences, both of them recognized the threat he posed to their own positions. So it was convenient for them that Heydrich was attacked in Prague on May 27, 1942, by Czech resistance operatives. Though initially surviving the ambush, Heydrich succumbed to his injuries a week later. For Hitler, Heydrich's death was a personal and operational loss. He viewed Heydrich as the epitome of loyalty and efficiency, a man who could execute even the most horrific policies without hesitation. In retaliation, Hitler unleashed brutal reprisals, including the destruction of the Czech villages of Lidice and Ležáky, to send a message to potential resistance movements. Within the inner circle, Heydrich's absence created a power vacuum in the Nazi security apparatus, one that his rivals were eager to fill. For Göring, the chance to fill this spot was waning by the day. Once Hitler's close confidant and face of the Nazi military-industrial complex, Göring's failures in the civil sector, as well as the head of the Luftwaffe, had tarnished his reputation. The 4-year plan he had been put in charge of had fallen apart, while his defeat during the Battle of Britain had left the Royal Air Force as a permanent threat to the Reich's security. His extravagant lifestyle and frequent absences from critical military discussions only exacerbated his decline. Hitler began to see him as unreliable and ineffective. During the later years of the war, others continued vying for their chance to reach the top. Since 1942, Albert Speer had succeeded Fritz Todt as Minister of Armaments and War Production, and had been working diligently on architectural and industrial programs aimed at improving the Reich. By 1943, his diligence had paid off. Unlike many in Hitler's inner circle, Speer gained the Führer's trust through competence rather than flattery or manipulation. Martin Bormann remained careful in his ascent to power. As Hitler's private secretary and head of the party chancellery, he entrenched himself as the Führer's gatekeeper. By mid-1943, Bormann had become one of the most powerful men in the Third Reich, carefully curating the information given to the Führer and manipulating decisions in his favor. Bormann's administrative mastery allowed him to outmaneuver rivals, gradually isolating Hitler from dissenting voices within the leadership. By the late stages of the war, Bormann's influence was so pervasive that other members of the inner circle regarded him with both fear and contempt. As the Reich was battered by the advancing Allied forces, the Nazi inner circle continued to weather its own setbacks. On July 20th, 1944, disillusioned Wehrmacht officers carried out an assassination attempt on Adolf Hitler. Though they failed, the attack profoundly shook the Nazi leadership and confirmed Hitler's own growing paranoia. This led to purges within the military and heightened distrust of the Führer's confidants. For the others, the assassination was an unexpected boon. The grip of the SS tightened as they were given priority in more security and military matters over the disloyal Wehrmacht. Meanwhile, Admiral Karl Dönitz, a naval commander uninvolved in the conspiracy, gained Hitler's favor as he sought loyal replacements. Dönitz's military acumen would ultimately lead to his appointment as Hitler's successor. In Germany's last months, Joseph Goebbels' role as Minister of Propaganda became increasingly critical to maintain the regime's grip on power. Goebbels intensified efforts to rally the German people through his total war speeches and relentless propaganda campaigns, which glorified Hitler's leadership and called for unwavering sacrifice. Despite the crumbling state of the Reich, Goebbels portrayed every setback as a prelude to ultimate victory, creating a sense of both defiance and desperation among the populace. As the war neared its conclusion, his influence granted him the appointment of Reich Plenipotentiary for total war in 1944. By this point, Goebbels had become one of Hitler's most trusted deputies, cementing his place as a central figure in the regime's final days. As the Third Reich collapsed in 1945, betrayal and paranoia consumed Hitler's inner circle. In a last bid for relevance, Hermann Göring requested to assume leadership as Berlin fell, believing Hitler incapacitated. Martin Bormann framed this as treason, leading Hitler to strip Göring of his titles and order his arrest. Albert Speer defied Hitler's orders on the Nero Decree, sparing Germany's infrastructure before fleeing Berlin for the short-lived Flensburg government. Meanwhile, Heinrich Himmler's secret peace negotiations with the Allies were soon discovered, leading to his own ejection from power. Isolated in the Führer bunker, Hitler trusted only Joseph Goebbels and Bormann, his paranoia driving him to condemn allies as traitors. By the time of his suicide on April 30th, 1945, the inner circle had fragmented, mirroring the regime's collapse.